This is an ABC News special report. Now reporting, David Muir.
Good afternoon. We're coming back on the air live from Vatican City. Let's go right to the live picture right now from St. Peter's Square. You can hear the cheers erupting, the applause. That's simply because we have our first signal from the Sistine Chapel, the black smoke coming from that temporary chimney that's placed above the Sistine Chapel every time there's a conclave here within the Catholic Church. As you can see, moments ago, the smoke first beginning to pour from that chimney, the black smoke signaling that there is not a new pope as of yet. We did not expect that there would be. The last time there was actually a new pope elected after the first vote was 1503. That was Julius II, for those at home back in the U.S. Keeping score. So far, we're just 3 hours into this conclave since the doors closed. The cardinals, the electors gathered in that room, 133 of them. They have all conducted their first round of voting, and what the black smoke signals is that they did not reach a 2/3 majority as to who should lead the Catholic Church moving forward. But look at the crowd gathered right here in St. Peter's Square. It's extraordinary. Tens of thousands of the faithful waiting for the signal from that chimney. And Lindsay Davis, they received the signal just moments ago. They'll have to wait a little longer.
They will, but you know, it's remarkable that we've got numbers estimating about 30,000. Of course, St. Peter's Square can hold about 250,000, but so many people committed with the stamina to stand for hours, all with their eyes gazing just at that chimney. And isn't it remarkable how, without saying a word, just that color of the smoke says so much. I talked to a few Americans who were here who said since they happen to be in the area, and it meant so much. They weren't Catholic, but it meant so much for them to be here to see this.
Father Jim Martin also with us. And Father Martin, we knew before we have our cameras trained on the chimney, and still we knew from the swell of applause in the square there that we had our first signal. And again, not a surprise that we would not have a pope yet.
Not a surprise. I was glad to see that it was clearly black, so it was kind of impossible to mistake it.
Which has happened before.
It has, yeah. And, you know, a number of people have told me that the first ballot is really kind of like a primary. The candidates who have a possible, you know, maybe 20 or 30 votes are surfaced, and then it's a good idea that they have a chance to kind of think about it for the night and then come back 12 hours later after having prayed over it.
Father Martin, doing some quick math here, we're well more than 3 hours, though, since those doors closed to the Sistine Chapel. In 2015, when they named Pope Francis, it took 2 hours, 6 minutes, 43 seconds before we had the results of at least the first vote. No new pope was named back then either, but at 2 hours, 6 minutes, it took well more than that today. We know we have a few more electors in there, 133 this time versus 115 last time. And a lot of these cardinals are going through this for the first time.
Yeah, there are a lot of reasons why this could have been longer. The preacher could have gone on long. He has a tendency to preach.
That's never happened before, right?
Yeah, God forbid. And as you said, we have more electors. That means more people walking up to the urn and putting it in, more votes to count. And it's the first night, and so people are just getting used to the whole procedure.
Let's go right down to the ground level, St. Peter's Square, the best view of all of us. James Longman, our foreign correspondent. James, what's the scene?
Yeah, it's incredible, David. When we saw that smoke, there was an eruption of applause, and then I turned around and it felt like we were at a concert because everyone had their iPhones up and you had this sea of white lights and that juxtaposition of these very modern devices that we all hold, and of course those cardinals inside, they don't get to have them. But there were a few moments, I have to say, over the last 3 hours, as you mentioned there, when we thought there was smoke, there was a rupture of applause, and then no, it wasn't. So I don't think anyone here was expecting it to go this long, but the atmosphere here was really electric. I mean, thousands and thousands, I think something like 30,000 people have been down here watching for that smoke, and a lot of them with flags, because people see this as an opportunity to come to celebrate their nation, their identity, hoping that they perhaps will be represented, their country will have its own pope. So kind of a festival atmosphere, I have to say, David, but they've been here, they've done their duty, they've waited for that smoke. I'm sure they'll be back to see when it turns white, as we all will be too.
James Longman down in St. Peter's Square. Maggie Rulli also on the ground for us. Just the spectacular images. If we can go live to this picture just over St. Peter's Basilica here, you can see those pictures just above St. Peter's Square where tens of thousands have gathered to mark this moment. And as you heard James Longman just report, just the swell of excitement, the applause breaking out. And Lindsay mentioned earlier that this goes beyond. It transcends the Catholic Church, at least in this moment, for people who happen to have traveled to Rome, to have been here just to witness part of history unfold. And as we have reported here during our coverage of Pope Francis, that he also extended well beyond the Catholic Church, did appeal to many with his humanity and his outreach. And the question now is, what direction will the Catholic Church go in going forward? The first vote now more than 3 hours after the doors closed at the Sistine Chapel. No new pope selected as of yet. Which generally is the way these things go. Maggie Rulli, as I mentioned, down there among the people who have gathered here. And Maggie, we knew by the applause before we even recognized there was smoke coming from the chimney.
Yes, exactly. Everyone is now leaving St. Peter's Square. They were waiting for that moment. As you said, we were out here for a little while, and there were a few false starts. There was one moment where a cloud floated just where the chimney was supposed to be, and there was applause. People thought it was white smoke. Obviously, that did not happen. But, you know, as yourself and as James just mentioned, just this collective atmosphere, this anticipation, I have to say my heart was pounding standing here in the square. And then when we finally saw that black smoke, it was almost like this energetic sigh. We're all going to be right back here tomorrow, David.
Yeah. Maggie Rulli with us as well. Maggie, thanks so much. Terry Moran, who has watched these conclaves along with the rest of us from outside the doors of the Sistine Chapel. Terry, let's just remind folks at home who are following this every step of the way how this works. The doors close to the Sistine Chapel. Each one of these 133 cardinals who are electors writing the name of the person they're choosing to lead the Catholic Church on their ballot, walking to the front of the chapel, folding it and placing it on top of that urn, and then going back to their chair. After that, as we know, 3 other cardinals are selected to verify, to tally the vote. And then we get our first signal, this black signal. Now, they can now communicate once they leave the Sistine Chapel tonight, and it gives them an opportunity, does it not, Terry, to kind of see where the numbers are as this conclave begins?
No question about it. They can see where the numbers are, who has gotten votes, and who seems to be the choice of one group or another group, and they know it. And now we know at least that they didn't reach that 2/3 majority. In a digital age, you can't imagine a more analog form of communication. In the age of artificial intelligence, it's a humane moment. There they were in there casting those votes, as you say, and in prayer, in silence, and now going back to confer, maybe to do a little bit of discussion about what the vote means and whether they like it or whether they'd like to change the direction of the conclave. And all of this really among themselves. No outside communication at all. This is an ancient way of choosing a leader for the Catholic Church. And given the way some elections go, well, maybe there's something to learn from it.
Terry Moran right here at the Vatican with us. As you can see, it is shortly after 9 p.m. here in Rome, in Vatican City, 3 p.m. back in the east, and you can see the thousands of people who had gathered here in St. Peter's Square beginning to leave. You know, as the clock was ticking and we went beyond the 3-hour mark, we did start to look at one another here as we gathered to report here at the Vatican, wondering, could we be making history here? The first time we've seen this since Julius II, a pope named on the first day. But then we got ourselves together and recognized we're not going to make history in that way. But we did get through the first day here covering the conclave. Again, those cardinals will now break for the evening. As Terry mentioned, they'll get a chance to communicate with one another, to campaign, if you will, though this looks nothing like a political campaign back in the States that we're used to. But they'll be able to lean on their fellow cardinals, talk about the numbers that they saw today, some of the names mentioned in front of that room. And then they'll go back into the Sistine Chapel tomorrow morning here at the Vatican. They'll have a vote first thing in the morning, a second vote at that time. They'll break for lunch if there's no new pope before lunchtime, and then they'll do it again in the afternoon. They'll do it twice a day in the morning, twice a day in the afternoon, until there is a pope named here at the Vatican. I'm David Muir. I'll be standing by with the team the entire time. The next time we see smoke, which will be tomorrow morning, in the wee hours of the morning. We hope you're up with us. We'll bring you the latest from the Vatican. And of course, we're now just a few hours away from World News Tonight back in the U.S., and I'll see you for that broadcast as well. I'm David Muir here at the Vatican. From all of us here, thanks for watching. Good day.
This has been a special report from ABC News.